get right back on. I keep getting messages that my internet connection is unstable. Don't ask me why. I never saw that message before. But so if I drop off for some reason, I'll get right back on. But so I'll open the meeting, and the agenda is calling for the minutes, but I don't think we have minutes, so we will put those off until our next meeting. And as I said, I don't want to put any pressure on Amy to feel like she has to get them out right away, because she's doing a great job filling in. And if we have to approve 2 or 3 months worth at the same time, I don't think that's a huge deal. If anybody else thinks that there's a reason why we should press for immediate minutes, and in some meetings it's important, because in some committees and boards, because you're having hearings and whatnot, and you really need to get everything on the record right away, because the next meeting could change something. So I don't think we're in that position yet, so I'm just going to make sure that Amy doesn't feel a ton of pressure to get everything to us right away. So if anybody has different thoughts on that, I'd like to hear them, but if not, we'll just go with it as it comes.
I move we dispense with the minutes.
Seconded.
Yeah, we're gonna all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, abstain, no, good. So I can't even tell who we have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0, 0 for when Amy looks at this. Okay, good. Second thing is director's update. But I don't know who knows this or not. I'm sure a few of you do, but maybe not. They have hired a new director. And he is, Jim sounds very excited about him. His name's Patrick DeShane. And I believe he was in Norwood as the assistant planner prior to taking this position. He's not starting until mid-February, so that's okay. And Jim is obviously, they've got so much going on with all the planning stuff and the 40Bs that he's probably going to have quite a significant ramp-up time. However, the reason I wanted to bring it up is Jim had asked me to try to put together 3 or 5 of the most important things, or at least most impactful things, that we could have Patrick start to look at in his first 100 days. And Jim can put that, kind of on his 30, 60, 90 plan. And I didn't want to answer him just on my own. I'd like to get some input from everybody here as to what, as a group, we feel like might be the more important 3 to 5 things that Patrick may be able to focus on when he gets rolling. We don't have, we can discuss it, and if we discuss it and come up with 3 or 5 things, and then somebody, we close the meeting, and then day after tomorrow, one of you guys or girls thinks of something, just shoot me an email, and I'll get it off to Jim as well. This is, whatever we come up with today can be a good starting point for that, and I'll get it to Jim, but then we'll have an ability to come up with things as time moves on, because who the heck knows? I mean, things are changing so fast that what we think is important today really might not be important in 60 days, or who knows? So
I have a suggestion, Mark, if you want.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe working on a zoning amendment to present to the town meeting, which would allow more things in business zones by right. So when a person wants to start a business in the town of Walpole, they don't have to go through so many boards to get approval for your everyday common businesses.
That's actually sounds like a pretty good idea. Do you have like a quick 50,000-foot overview of an experience that you know of or may have had yourself where that would come into play and make things a lot easier?
Yeah. The question would be is we don't want to take things, I wouldn't suggest taking the planning board has a very important role to make sure that the town is doing projects that are beneficial for the town as well, not just the person. But a lot of the things in that purview are very unnecessary and repetitive. It's just part of the process. So, like, one of the examples, like, I always bring up is why towns fight apartments in downtown areas. If you want to zone a district in a downtown area, apartments above retail feed retail businesses, and it creates its own mini economy. Now, I'm not a proponent of apartments in areas where, in dense residential single family homes. It's more for, near commuter rails. It's kind of like the project in Walpole. That building will fund businesses being open and just making it easy. I have not done a project like that, so I wouldn't know. But I do know that right now it's not a buy right project, or is it a project that you can do without? I think is that a 40B?
The ones downtown are both market rate.
Correct. So they obviously got them through and good, but the process is not short and it's not quick. It's long and expensive. So by making the process more complicated and more expensive and longer, it really does stop a smaller business person from starting a business. It benefits the bigger and larger companies that have the dollars to spend on legal fees and engineers and things like that, versus if someone wants to open up a shop downtown, it's not the easiest process.
I think that's a good bullet point to include in that first 100 days. We'll have to help him in terms of giving some additional real world examples, in my opinion, as to where we might be falling short in that, other than in the speed to approval or what the requirements might be at all these different boards. You're right, it's very repetitive.
Well, one on speed to approval, in my experience and watching other people watching planning board meetings, why does it go back multiple times? Why not? Here's the plan. Give us the 10 things the plan wants us to change, or the 10 things. Why go change this, change it, come back, change this, change it, come back. So it takes an 8-month process to get a plan, versus if you come the first time, the planning reviews the plans, give all changes right away and discuss them and work with them. And then the developer or the business owner can go back and make them all right away. And at that point, we have a more efficient process versus doing one change at a time, or a neighbor comes up 6 months into the process and says, well, I don't agree with that. Well, the answer should be, you should have been around for the first 5 meetings, not just, I get neighbors are very important, and I live in Walpole, and I don't want, but if you get notice, it's not fair to just be able at any point to arbitrarily delay a project.
I don't disagree with you. And one thing I'd be interested in finding out, as they look into how they might propose an article at town meeting to change this zoning process. But one thing I'd be interested in is I guess the question I would have, and I don't want to say anything out of school, but after sitting on planning board for 3 years, and I respect those folks and what they have to do quite a bit, I'm not sure that the protocols are not already in place. And then I think some of it might be inefficiency in execution. You know what I mean? And again, I don't want to say that they are in place, because I don't know, but I think a investigation of where the zoning bylaws are now versus how they're being executed certainly would be an exercise that would be worth doing. And then if after that discovery we realize that we really do need a zoning change, push forward there. But an audit of the entire process would be really beneficial to solving the problem that I think that you're trying to solve, John. It would be, the speeding up of the process, efficiency in the process, because you're right. I was on planning board with both of those projects downtown, and they were 2 years from start to finish. And if it wasn't Corcoran management, I don't think a lot of people could have survived it in terms of,
agree.
you know, so you're right there, but I think we need to determine whether it's the bylaw or whether if it's efficiency of the board. And
Yeah, it is determined to be efficiency of the board. We can suggest them, but they can't do anything else. We just say, hey, guys.
sometimes bringing it to light is all you need, you know. And there's a lot of personalities too. And, you know, I'm not going to go beyond saying that, but there are a lot of personalities that can get involved. And I've seen some things fly through the process, and I've seen some things get stalled seemingly forever. And, you know,
Yeah, a couple of things that came up in the last few meetings. You mentioned the one where there was a minor change in the layout of the property, and the developer had to come back, make another appointment with the zoning board, and you know, there's another 2 months. Or
absolutely.
could be.
When it's small things, it's
And
either.
then the hotel out in Route 1, never found out why that didn't go through. That seemed to be a great project and tied in with the restaurant there across from Big Y. And
I couldn't agree with you more.
Pardon me?
I said I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
Well, if I remember correctly on that one too, it's the small little things that hang you up in this town. And then when personalities get involved, you know, the small thing almost becomes a technicality, and they can control what they want to control once they find something like that. You know, John, if you were someone else, and again, I don't want to say too much here, but if you were someone else, John, they really could have hung you up on that. What was it, 2 feet for the fire department turnaround? That they were trying to, or maybe even less than 2 feet. It was a real small.
It was a small number.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. Very.
Didn't want, and no one wanted to obviously hold you up. I certainly didn't want to, and I didn't hear any rumblings on the board that, you know, watch this. This guy thinks he can get away with anything, and some guys do try to get away with everything, but you can't go into every meeting thinking that, or else everything stops, you know. But that could have held some developers up indefinitely, because then you have to go out and get an engineer to redo it. So there's money. Then you have to get your lawyer to represent it. There's money. Then you have to get them to show up and hope that you're on the schedule for 7 o'clock, because the 7 o'clock hearing time versus the 10 o'clock hearing time, to someone that's not a huge developer, you know, 3 hours at $300 an hour for your lawyer, that's another $1,000. And, you know, it's, so I think it's a real strong point, John. I think we really ought to look, I think just the investigation and the discovery of it might bring up a lot of things that would really help to solve the problem that we're trying to solve. And if it ends up being a zoning change, then so be it. But I think that we're going to learn a lot by doing that. So I think that's a great suggestion. We'll definitely put that on the list.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Mark, I'd like to
Yeah,
add one is, you know, what is the role of this committee, and how is it going to work with the EDC coordinator and the other committees in Walpole?
Explain that a little bit. What is the role of which committee?
The committee that we're all on right now,
The EDC.
the EDC committee, what is its role, and what is its role, you know, working along with the, you know, the new hire?
Okay.
And then,
So essentially, because they rewrote our charge, and it's pretty straightforward. I can send you a copy of that. I think that we've had, you know, since we had the charge rewritten and brought in John and Meg, you know, we've all been sitting in this world of seemingly, on an exercise bike. We feel like we're pedaling, but there's nothing going on. So I've been finding it very difficult to even find issues that are not repetitive to work on, especially without a director that has a strong vision. We could sit here and talk about how to help the restaurants and how to do this and how to do this forever, but it's the same conversation. But I agree with you, Kevin, that fully understanding our charge, which came from the select board, and fully understanding what our real relationship is going to be like moving forward with the new director is very important for us in moving forward. We've been told that directors are going to be this, and this, and they end up, by need, in most cases, working on other things, and EDC can become secondary in that point. But I don't think that's done in a nefarious way. I certainly don't think it's done on purpose. But I think need steps in, and they have to do what they feel is most important. But I feel that Jim is pretty happy about this new hire, and I agree with you that I think it's important to outline what that relationship is going to look like, and what they are going to expect out of us once we start to roll out of this situation, which, by the way, to me feels like we are starting to roll out of it. So hopefully it continues that direction.
Excellent.
But I put that down as clarification of our role in general, and clarification of how the EDC and the new director will work together on an ongoing basis. What's expected out of both of us working together, and what is the town expecting out of the three entities, us, the director, and the select board, and what they're expecting. I think that's a great point to make.
Mark, I've got one for you.
Sure.
I'm curious if we could take a different approach to data. I'd like to know, how much commercial real estate is available in Walpole now? What are the sites that are available that we'd like to see filled? I'd like to know, maybe categorically, how many pizza restaurants we have, how many salons we have, how many whatever. I'd like more information as to the status of our business in town that could help visualize where we might want to look or think or discuss how we could possibly recruit or encourage businesses to come to town. There's just no information about it in any one place that I'm aware of. And I'd like to know if a business moves out of town. What business was it? Do we know why? Just more general information would be helpful.
Yeah, I agree. Can't really do much when you don't know where you are. It's hard to know what direction that you're going. I believe that you're exactly right, that if we know what opportunity, if we know what parcels we have available, then we can extrapolate that and really do what I think our job is to take the years of experience that sit on this board, look at what we have available, and find a way to recruit based on what the possibilities could be, and not just wait for someone else to come up with an idea about a parcel, but have us start to put together some opportunity based on reality with what we have. I mean, I'm sure everybody would love to get Amazon to come to Walpole, but where? So if we know what we have and where we have it and what the opportunities could be, it certainly gives us a better footing moving forward. And certainly, Brian, I agree with you completely. We've been sitting on EDC for quite a while, and if somebody asked me how many pizza places we had in Walpole, I wouldn't be able to tell them. I know it's a significant number, though, but I wouldn't be able to tell them. And
well, yeah, and I think a bigger piece sometimes is why are businesses leaving? I'd like to know that. And could something have been done, or could we learn from that so it doesn't happen the next time? And maybe there's a way to help some businesses if we, learn sooner rather than later. So it'd be probably great to hear from Harry too, maybe once, a quarter on, new businesses that have signed up with his organization to be part of the chamber. If there's any relevance there. So I just think more general information about business activity in town would just be a good exercise.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, along that line, it might be a good idea for him to get in touch with Harry, because he has a hell of a lot of this information, I think. Don't you, Harry?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I mean, just briefly, happy to do something like on a quarterly basis. I can give you a quick update, and I would say that most new businesses are coming from service sectors or sales positions where people are coming in. This is a territory they represent, and they're trying to network and get to know a lot of the community or business owners. We haven't seen a lot of new brick and mortar businesses, other than maybe off the top of my head, Crisp, which we all are aware of. If I wouldn't say we as a whole in the chamber have lost members a lot, but we've definitely had some members that are struggling to renew. I mean, every dollar matters as of late. And, I used to typically say, how does it not make sense to join the chamber for $150 to $250 and then have me come in and bring in a huge group of people and have you net 1,000 plus in that one evening? It was always a no-brainer, and it just became a great win-win-win for them to showcase their business or product, take on income that night, and then continue to interact with the community. So I'm just dying to get back out there and start having some networking events and community events to really get that stuff going again, and hopefully be able to do that in then hopefully 2 months, let's say. But no, everything that I've been here since the beginning, and I've understand everything you're saying, and I know we've had talks of a like quick approval process for new businesses where we were gonna, I thought, Mark, we were getting to that point where every head of the committee or someone close to the head of the committee was going to sit down at a round table for some new businesses and kind of give them a pre-screening filter of like what to do to make it as easy as possible. I'm not sure if that actually happened, but that was something we were working towards.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was going to be a roundtable more or as much as relevant committees were going to put together, kind of like a best practices thing as a distribution to prospective businesses, where they'd be able to get this one document and it would say, to quickly move through the planning board, here's what we're looking for. To quickly move through zoning, here's what we're looking for, that type of thing. And I think that's important, by the way, but it's only as good as what it's like in execution, as we said before. Everything looks good on paper until you try to do it. And I think we just need to try to make sure that the variables are taken out. And you're always going to have hiccups, but I guess the bottom line is, if you're trying to help someone get started, versus trying to find ways to get in someone's way, the same problem can have two very different outcomes. A 2-foot zoning problem could either be a small speed bump that you just have to change and that's a condition of approval, or go back, get it all redone, all redrawn, get us this, get us that, do your extension, and we'll put you on for a month and a half from now. Two very different outcomes to the same small problem. So, I agree with the roadmap would be great, and then what we do with our first point from John is make sure that roadmap is being executed fairly.
Right, and Brian's talked about what's available in Walpole. I know John has a Jager in the past has had a map showing all the zones, and then we got to a point where we did have some like red flags of what was available for space. So trying to get a revised one of that somehow, somewhere, that shows us where the locations are, what type of zoning they are, whether they're business / commercial, residential, you know, the different typical variables that some of them have, would be great for us to have at all times, maybe updated on a quarterly basis as well.
Yeah, and you know, Ashley had mentioned putting together a one sheet and even a website that contained all that information, you know, just as an information clearinghouse for prospective businesses that wanted to come to town. And you know, it hasn't moved forward quickly, but again, same reason, right? So
right. I guess I could also, if you want me to do that quarterly thing, I could probably get updated active listings from commercial brokers to just kind of read as a, you know, at the meeting and say this is what's available, and hopefully try to know what potential business can go there based on zoning as well.
yeah, okay, that sounds great, Harry. John, your first point that you made, were you talking also, and if you weren't, that's okay, I'm just trying to make sure that I didn't misunderstand part of it. Were you speaking in terms of zoning, you know, let's say something zoned for, you know, manufacturing, but we don't want to have some commercial space be that limited? You know, should we talk about in this document, you know, what the process is to try to get that changed to suit the purposes of the new business? Or is that something that they're just going to have to do their best at when they get into the process? You know, because we get a lot of light manufacturing, this, that could be suitable for other things, but people just don't even give it a shot because of a zoning bylaw that was implemented in 1951. You know what I mean? And or an overlay that was there because of something that someone either wanted or didn't want that sat on the select board in 1965. But you know, perhaps a zoning change or an overlay might be possible that could entice larger opportunities. I mean, that's what they did in Franklin. I mean, we don't have the space to do this, but they had to jump through hoops in Franklin to get EMC there, and Dell, and they did it. And I guarantee you, we have properties that just miss in terms of the zoning, that might be able to open some doors for a whole new group that might not have thought it was possible.
You know, Mark, to that point, one of the things I've been reading about is some of the large companies that have the applications evaluating future leases, and they're looking at moving out of cities to more suburban areas closer to where these people live and less expensive than rent in the cities. So, you know, that's a long-term play, but there could be opportunities if commercial real estate in the cities struggles to fill that space. You know, towns like us that are halfway between Boston and Providence, with Route 1 right there, 495 around the corner,
Right.
we're in a prime location to service two cities.
I agree. I'll put that as a footnote into John's first point, that to maybe look into where outside the box opportunities might exist if we push the envelope on the existing zoning, and what might be available, you know, 5 years from now, a decade from now. I mean, we have to plant the seeds now, or it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything? No? Okay. See what we got next here. We can move to open forum too, if anybody has anything that they want to bring up. That's outside.
Anything new on the mall? Have you heard anything on that, Mark?
I haven't heard anything other than they had postponed indefinitely the auction. That's the last I heard, and I haven't heard anything about it since. Has anybody else?
I guess the manager over there told me that it was more of a procedural financial thing for them to put it on, and then basically I heard they took it back. Not sure I'm positive on that, but
That's what I heard, Harry.
yeah, so I think they're okay for now.
Well, the auction is still advertised for February 18th on Scott and Sullivan webpage.
Yeah, they probably work something out with the bank. It's probably still has to be
Moved or whatever, right?
Just quickly, Mark, where did we leave it with the letter to the Board of Selectmen regarding the grant?
Well, we left it that I was gonna write you what our version of that letter should be, and, you know, two things came up since then. The first one is, they wanted, my understanding is the select board wanted either, you know, someone like EDC or whatnot to get behind that, and quite frankly, I didn't know what to put in that letter, because I don't want to come across like we're attacking them if we're gonna get behind it. And we haven't had, or I haven't had any expertise or someone to discuss the parameters of that with, in putting together a letter that sounded like we knew what we were talking about. I'm very gun shy right now. I'm not going to say gun shy. I want to make sure that our relationship stays good with the select board, and anything I write, knowing what I know right now, which is very little about this, is going to sound like I'm hammering and attacking them for not doing it. And I think there's more to it than that. The other half of it is it's been backburnered, and I haven't pulled it off the back burner yet. And I need to do that. That's on me. So,
I know there was a couple. How many more dates you think are left? Was it?
I remember off the top of my head, I think 2 after January 5th.
All right, so the last one must be coming up soon. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, let me look at my update here.
I mean, our approach or opinion or suggestion can only be positive, and just suggesting that they do pursue that for the good of Walpole economic development. I mean, it's.
Yeah, but they don't want to sponsor it. They want someone else to get behind it and run with. From what I understand, not only telling them to approve it, but they want us to take on a role that Ashley would have done, which is essentially almost write the thing and plan it, and plan it from a distribution side where the opportunity is. And I'm not sure who can do. You know, we can write it and say what the heck, and they'll say, okay, what do you want to do? And
if you can, try to ask the new community development person to make that one of their first priorities, to look at what it will take to pursue it. And as we discussed, I think having those monies go towards increasing lighting downtown, signage, and potential parking is huge. And while I'm on that note, has anybody known about if anybody's ever asked about additional parking on Front Street? Ken, I'm not sure if you've ever seen that come up, but I was speaking with a business owner over there, and you know the street that you can take to physically drop your mail in from when you're sitting in your car on the Common? That's Front Street, and it still runs to the other side across 1A. So there's only parking on the left. That's always it's a one-way on both sides, and there's only parking spots on the left side. There's more than possible space to put parking on the right side as well. Now you got 2 churches on both sides there, I believe, but there's no reason why we could have signs that say no parking on Sundays. But you could be slipping in another, I don't know, off the top of my head, 10 to 15 more spots on the right side there.
Is it wide enough? I'm trying to picture it in my head. I've driven up it 1,000 1,000 times, but I guess I never tried to notice if it was wide enough, like the part of Front Street that goes in front of the church, directly in front of Epiphany Church.
My sarcastic answer is going to be wide enough for who? I mean, have you ever gone to Boston and tried to park a car?
Hey, I lived in Somerville. Believe me, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I mean, let's go. The priority is parking down there to get more people down there for more business, more taxes, revenue, all that stuff. I don't want to worry about, how wide is the street. I mean, come on. They're going to talk about.
I'm just looking at potential pushback, but I'm with you. And the fact that it's one way means we should be able to park on both sides the whole way.
Or even I know somebody talked about angled parking. Maybe if you just did all angled parking along the left side.
That's a thought. I mean, that's what they do in Foxborough Center.
Right.
Around that big square there, they have the angled parking. Now, where did this? Are you thinking about this on your own, or do you see? Is someone looking at this, or have they looked at it in the past and it just went away? It's a great idea. I'd love to pursue it. I just want to know if you were just thinking about it or you heard it.
Just talking to two business owners down there, we were having a discussion about parking, and one of them brought up, why can't they be parking on both sides? And I said, that's a great question. I've never heard anybody ask that one.
I think it's a great idea. Yeah, and I don't know why there'd even have to be a Sunday restriction. They'd probably like the more parking on a Sunday.
Well, because of church, that's all.
Well, I mean, but they're the only people down there on Sunday morning anyway, so that'd be perfect. As long, I don't want to. There's always ways to get things done, and somebody will find a reason why it would be hard to do, but who cares? I agree with you. So, how do we go about? Other than just discussing it, how do we go about trying to move forward with that type of a change?
I guess you could write a quick letter to Jim Johnson first, just to ask what are the pros and cons or possibilities of trying to pursue it.
Yeah, he'll be able to tell me if it's been tried before and if there's any reasons why it was not approved or whatever.
There could be a powerful residential owner over there that might not like it.
Well, that's the first thing that I was going to think of. I just didn't want to say anything. That was my first thought. But whatever. Times change.
True.
Yeah, okay. That's a good idea. I like that. The one way makes it a no-brainer in my opinion, but I guess we'll find out soon what the problem might be. Anybody else have anything for open forum?
Okay.
Any ideas when people think that we might be able to start thinking about Main Street Live again? I mean, are we foolhardy to think that this coming September might be an opportunity, or because if we're going to do it, we have to at least start looking at the pre-planning next month.
Just make it a vaccination party, and we should be okay.
I think if people were asking me right now, I would say I think it would be a good idea to at least go through a pre-planning exercise just to get our ducks in a row, and as we move more towards the time, we won't be behind the eight ball. How do people feel about that?
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
I would agree. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right, so we typically put together a subcommittee. In the past, it's been myself, Beth, and Danelle. But anybody that might want to be involved in those meetings, there would be, maybe one meeting a month in addition to this meeting. It's typically at Danelle's office, but we'll probably do it on Zoom for the foreseeable future. But just let me know. You don't have to decide now, obviously, but just let me know if anybody's interested in being on that subcommittee. And then we'll get that rolling, and we'll start the planning as if we're going to move forward, and everything short of paying money to book something. But we at least should have our ducks in a row for that. Any other things or events that we might be able to do to start getting people back into the swing of life here, Harry? I know you like to do a lot of networking events and things like that. You know, as they start to loosen the reins a little bit on gatherings, do you think we might want to look at something in addition to Main Street Live, smaller, more frequent, earlier in the summer, just to get the business community back and feeling good about things again?
Yeah, I've got a couple things in the works. I do want
Am I the only one that doesn't hear him, or does other people hear him?
Oh, hold on. Hello?
I hear him.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got a couple things in the works. I just want to remain quiet on them for a little bit longer because I don't want people to jump all over me by saying it's too early. But one thing, what was I just thinking about? Oh, I'm hoping to hear something about Walpole Day first. Once I hear about a potential green light for that, or even a date scheduled, I'm going to kind of be coming out with a lot of different things. But yeah, you just have to take it one step at a time still, especially with inside events, and it's hard to think anything outside until the weather breaks. And we weren't able to hold our State of the Town event this year, so that was unfortunate. I haven't even had a chance to go look at the new budget and what that looks like, but that's something that we should be aware of and always aware of as far as how Walpole runs, the percentage of commercial revenue that our town does not have compared to other towns, in a town that we want to have more than other towns.
Right.
So, and that's should be the biggest thing of our charge, or whatever that is, to increase the revenue so we can have everything that we want to have in this town.
Right, I agree. Have you heard anything at all about Walpole Day? Are they discussing it at Walpole Rec yet?
I have not. Just started to ask the question.
Who's in charge of Rec? Is it still Brendan?
I think so.
I mean, if they're doing that, they would be planning it now. So, Harry, if you reach out to them and hear anything, let us know, because that'll be a decent barometer with what Walpole's temperature is on moving forward with gatherings. You know, I don't want to get into any personal politics. I think that they should just go for it, but that's me. I think we've all learned how to distance. I think we're all comfortable with doing whatever is necessary. So hopefully they have an open mind about moving forward with some of these events.
Yeah, I could get something outlined on the Business Leaders Forum too, for the fall maybe.
Okay. And the good news is, for those types of events, I think some of these function facilities are going to be very eager to cut some deals.
You're right.
I mean, we don't want to take advantage of them, obviously, because everybody's hurting right now, but man, I don't even know how they're paying their bills, that's for sure. Does anybody have any knowledge or experience, or know anybody that runs the new place over where Raphael's used to be? I mean, that thing is dark as can be.
And they were very conservative in their approach to rent out the hall. It was only bridal, wedding, shower stuff. That was right. It, as far as I heard. They did do a little flexibility with Junior Women's Club for a fashion show, I think. But since then, everything is slowed, of course. And I don't know, I'm actually hearing on the other side, as soon as it starts to open, it's going to be real tough to get any venues, and all the prices are going to be sky high.
Yeah, I mean, supply and demand, right? If everybody is willing to jump out at it right away when the gates get opened, then I agree with you. I have less faith in the fact, it's kind of like the commercial real estate downtown in Boston. I think people are starting to figure out that the people are still going to do work, whether they throw $120,000 corporate-wide functions or not. But we'll see. I hope the business goes crazy. It's a business that I really like, and I hope that they do well. I'm a little skeptical, but fingers crossed. But either way, we benefit, right? All right. Anything else? Everybody good?
Yeah.
All right. I need to get this to Jim. I need to get this to Jim in by the end of the week. So I'm just going to copy you all on the document that I sent him about the top 5 things we'd like to start working on when Patrick starts working, and I'm sure he'll send out an introduction email to everybody. But yeah, we'll just keep pushing until things start to open up. I also just made a note that I'm going to get a copy of the charge off to everyone as well, just so you have it, so there's no wondering what the ultimate goal is moving forward. Okay. Someone want to make a motion to close the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah, so moved.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained. All right, everybody. Thanks, and we'll talk soon. Good seeing everybody.
Have a
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.